The Hall of the Galactic Alliance was the largest chamber ever built in known space. It floated above a blue star, shining like a crown of glass and light. Inside, hundreds of leaders from different worlds sat in perfect rows. Some were tall and thin, some had scales, some had glowing skin. All of them were powerful, and all of them were silent. At the center of the hall stood one man, a human. He wore a simple dark uniform with no medals, no signs of rank. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold and focused. He did not look afraid. He did not look angry. He looked certain. The council leader, a tall being with silver skin, spoke first. "Ambassador, you called for this emergency session. Speak." The human stepped forward. His boots made a soft sound on the shining floor. Every eye in the hall followed him. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, in a clear and steady voice, he spoke. "Humanity is leaving the Galactic Alliance." The words hit the room like a shockwave. No one moved. No one breathed. For a second, it felt like time had stopped. Then the noise began. Voices rose all at once, confused, angry, afraid. "What do you mean leaving? This is not possible. You cannot just walk away." The silver leader raised a hand, and the room slowly became quiet again. "You will explain this," the leader said. "Now." The human did not react to the anger. He stood still like a statue. "There is nothing more to explain," he said. "The decision is final." A heavy silence fell again. One of the older members, a creature with deep red eyes, leaned forward. "Humanity helped build this alliance," it said slowly. "You fought beside us. You saved many of our worlds. Why would you leave now?" The human looked at him. For the first time, there was a small change in his face. Not emotion, just wait. "You are not ready," he said. The words were quiet, but they spread to the hall like ice. "Not ready for what?" someone shouted. The human paused. Then he said something that made the air feel cold. "For what is coming." Murmurs filled the room again, but now they were different. Not anger, fear. The silver leader stood up. "If there's a threat," the leader said, "the Alliance will face it together. That is why we exist." The human shook his head. "Just once." "No," he said. "You will not." The leader's voice became sharp. "Are you refusing to share critical information?" The human looked around the hall, at every face, every species, every world that trusted humanity. For a brief moment, something passed in his eyes. Regret. But it was gone just as quickly. "This is goodbye," he said. And then he turned, just like that. No argument, no discussion, no warning. He walked toward the exit. "Stop him," someone shouted. But no one moved, because deep down they all felt it. Something was wrong, very wrong. The doors closed behind the human ambassador with a soft sound. And in that moment, everything changed. Far away, across thousands of star systems, human fleets began to move. Ships that had protected trade routes suddenly changed course. Stations that stood for decades powered down. Outposts went dark. Within hours, every human signal across Alliance space began to disappear, one by one, like stars going out. In the Alliance Command Center, alarms started to ring. They are pulling back all forces. Human fleets are leaving defensive positions. Communication lines are offline. Trade routes are collapsing. Panic spread fast. Leaders rushed to send messages. No reply. Emergency channels were opened. Silence. Even direct signals to Earth. Nothing. It was as if humanity had vanished. 3 days later, the first patrol fleet was sent to human space. They never returned. 7 days later, a second fleet was sent. They also disappeared. No battle signals. No distress calls. Just gone. Now the fear was real. Emergency meetings were called again. "They are preparing for war," one leader said. "No," another replied. "This is not war behavior." "Then what is it?" No one had an answer, because there was one truth everyone knew. Humans did not run. They did not hide. They did not abandon allies. So why now? On the edge of Alliance space, a small listening station picked up something strange. A signal. Weak, broken, human in origin. The operators worked fast to clean the message. Static filled the speakers. Then a voice came through. Calm, cold, human, phase 1 complete. The signal cut for a second, then returned. All units fall back. More static. And then the final words. Prepare for isolation. The message ended. The room went silent. One of the operators whispered, Isolation from what? No one answered, because in that moment, across the entire galaxy, a single thought began to grow. If humanity was afraid, then whatever was coming was something no one could stop, and far beyond the edges of known space. In the deep dark between galaxies, something moved, slow, massive, and heading closer. The galaxy had never felt this quiet before. Not peaceful quiet, but empty quiet, the kind that made even the strongest leaders uneasy. Days passed after humanity left the Galactic Alliance. Then weeks, and still nothing changed. Human space remained completely silent. No signals, no trade ships, no patrol fleets. It was as if an entire civilization had simply turned off. Inside the Alliance Command Center, tension was rising every hour. Screens showed star maps filled with blinking lights, each one a system once connected to human networks. Now, those lights were gone. Still no response? The Silver Leader asked. A technician shook their head. No signals from Earth. No signals from any human colony. Every channel is dead. Another officer stepped forward. We tried long-range scans. Human space is still there, but it's different. Different how? The leader asked. The officer hesitated. It's like they built something around it. We cannot see inside clearly. A strange silence filled the room. Built what? Someone whispered. No one had an answer. More disturbing reports followed. Unmanned probes sent toward human borders began to fail. At first, it was small errors, lost data, broken signals, then complete shutdown. Every probe that crossed a certain invisible line simply stopped working, as if something did not want them to look any further. Fear slowly turned into suspicion. They are hiding something, one Alliance general said during an emergency meeting. Or preparing something. Another added, War, someone asked. The room fell quiet again, but one voice spoke, low and serious. No, said an elder from a distant world. If this was war, humans would not hide. That made it worse, because it meant only one thing. This was something else. Then, on the 23rd day, something new happened. A signal appeared. Weak, unstable, and not human. It came from the far edge of the galaxy, beyond normal travel zones, a place most civilizations avoided. The signal was old, very old, but somehow it was active again. The Alliance rushed to receive it. The message was broken, filled with noise and distortion, but it was clearly a distress call. Can you identify the source? The leader asked. A data analyst looked up, their face pale. Yes, but it does not make sense. Explain. The analyst swallowed. The signal belongs to a species that no longer exists. Murmurs spread across the room. Extinct, someone asked. The analyst nodded slowly. They vanished thousands of years ago. The recording was cleaned as much as possible. Then it was played. A strange voice filled the chamber. It sounded weak, terrified. The language was ancient, but quickly translated. If anyone receives this. Static. They have returned. More noise. We were wrong to think they were gone. The signal almost died completely. Then one final line came through, clear enough to understand. Humanity knows. And then silence. The room felt colder. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, the Silver Leader stood. What does this mean? They asked. No one answered, because no one wanted to say it out loud. Within hours, the Alliance began searching old records, ancient data, forgotten histories, lost civilizations. What they found was disturbing. Patterns. Entire star systems disappearing. Not destroyed, but erased. No battles. No survivors. just empty space where life once existed. And these events all had one thing in common. They happened long before the Galactic Alliance was formed, long before most current species reached the stars. But one detail stood out the most. In several ancient records, there was a mention of a young species, a species that had just started exploring space at that time, a species that recorded everything, a species called humanity. The discovery shook the Alliance. "Are you saying humans knew about this?" a leader demanded. "It appears so," the analyst replied. "And they never told us." Silence. More data was uncovered. Old human files, hidden archives, deep space recordings. Most of it was heavily protected, but small pieces were enough. Strange signals coming from outside the galaxy, objects moving in deep space, patterns that did not match any known life, and one repeated warning in human logs. Do not engage, do not signal, do not attract attention. The fear in the room began to grow. "They knew," someone whispered. "They knew this whole time," another said, "and they said nothing." Then one final piece of information appeared, a classified human document. It was short, simple, but it changed everything. The message read, "If they return, isolation is the only chance for survival." The silver leader looked around the room. Now, the truth was clear. Humans did not leave because they were afraid of the Alliance. They left because they were afraid of something else, something much worse. A young officer spoke, his voice shaking. "If this is real, then why didn't they warn us properly?" No one answered, because deep down they understood. If the threat was truly that dangerous, then maybe warning others would only make things worse. The meeting ended in silence. But across the galaxy, fear continued to spread. Trade stopped in many regions. Civilizations began preparing defenses. Some even started evacuating their worlds. Because now, everyone felt it. Something was coming. And far beyond the edge of the galaxy, in the endless dark, that something moved closer. Slow, silent, watching, waiting. The fear did not come all at once. It spread slowly, like a shadow moving across the stars. After the strange distress signal, the Galactic Alliance changed. Leaders who once argued now stayed quiet. Fleets that once explored now stayed close to home. Even the busiest trade routes began to empty. No one wanted to be too far from safety. No one wanted to be alone. Inside the Central Archive Station, a team of analysts worked without rest. They searched through old data, records no one had touched for thousands of years. Ancient logs, broken transmissions, lost histories. At first, it made no sense. Small events, random disappearances, silent systems. But when the data was placed together, a pattern appeared. "Look at this," one analyst said, pointing at a large screen. Dots filled the map of the galaxy. Each dot was a system that had gone silent long ago. At first glance, they looked random, but then a line was drawn. Then another. The dots were not random. They formed paths. Paths that moved slowly across the galaxy. Like something traveling. The room became still. "How long?" someone asked. The analyst zoomed out. "Thousands of years," they said quietly. "Whatever this is, it moves slowly." Another voice added, "But it never stops." The silver leader arrived soon after. They looked at the map for a long time, then asked the question everyone was thinking. "Where is it now?" No one spoke at first. Then the analyst moved the map again. The glowing path ended near the outer edge of the galaxy, very close to current Alliance base. A deep silence filled the room. "It is coming here," someone whispered. More data was pulled from hidden human archives. It was not easy. Human systems were locked behind layers of protection, but fragments could still be recovered. And those fragments told a story no one expected. Years ago, long before humans joined the Alliance, they had sent probes beyond the edge of the galaxy. Simple missions, exploration, curiosity. But one of those probes sent something back. Not data, a warning. The message was old, damaged, but still readable. Unknown structures detected. Size beyond planetary scale. No energy pattern matches known physics. They are not ships. The recording paused. Then the final line appeared. They are feeding. The Alliance leader stared at the message. Feeding on what? Someone asked. No one needed to answer. They all looked at the map, at the dead systems, at the empty stars. A second file was opened. This one was marked with a human warning symbol. It contained visual data. The screen flickered, then showed a dark space. At first, nothing could be seen. Then something moved. Slow, massive, a shape larger than a planet passed in front of distant stars. But it was not solid. It shifted, like a shadow that should not exist. The recording ended suddenly. The file was corrupted. But the message was clear. This was not an enemy like others. It did not fight. It consumed. The room felt colder than before. So this is what they were hiding, one leader said. No, the silver leader replied softly. This is what they were protecting us from. Another piece of data appeared. A human military log. It was short, only a few lines. But it changed everything. Engagement attempt failed. Standard weapons ineffective. Losses unacceptable. New strategy required. They tried to fight it, someone said, and they failed, another added. The realization hit hard. Humans who had won wars against powerful enemies, humans who had saved entire civilizations, could not stop this. Then one final record was found, a message sent between human command units. It was recent, very recent. The words were clear. Evacuation of outer systems complete. Defensive perimeter established. Phase 1 successful. Awaiting contact. The room fell into silence again. Contact with what? A young officer asked. No one answered, because deep down they already knew. Far across the galaxy, small changes began to appear. Sensors detected strange readings in deep space. Not clear signals, not ships, just movement. Large movement. Too large. An outpost near the edge of Alliance Space Center report. Unidentified mass detected. The message said, size unknown. Movement slow but steady. Requesting instructions. No reply was sent in time, because minutes later, the outpost went silent. No explosion. No distress call. Just gone. The report reached the Alliance too late. And when it did, the fear turned into something else. Reality. The silver leader looked at the gathered council. Their voice was quiet. It has entered our space. No one spoke. No one moved. Then the leader gave the order. Prepare all defenses. Across the galaxy, alarms began to rise. Fleets were called back. Weapons were powered. Shields were raised. But deep down, everyone knew one thing. They were not ready. And somewhere in the darkness, beyond sight, something ancient moved closer. Not in a hurry, not with anger, but with purpose. Because for it, this was not war. This was feeding. And the galaxy was next. No one called an attack at first. There was no explosion, no weapons fire, no warning, just silence. The colony world of Aster, 9 was small but important. It was rich in energy crystals and home to over 2 million beings. Trade ships moved in and out every hour. Signals filled the system. Then, in a single moment, everything stopped. The last transmission from Aster, 9 was normal. A cargo pilot asking for landing clearance. A routine message. Then nothing. At first, the Alliance thought it was a system failure. Then minutes turned into hours. Still nothing. No signals. No movement. No life signs. A full patrol fleet was sent. When the fleet arrived, what they found made no sense. The planet was still there. The cities were still standing. Lights were still on in some places. But there was no one. No life signs detected. The fleet commander reported. Repeat scan, the control center replied. The scan ran again. Same result. Empty. The commander ordered a landing team. Ships descended through the atmosphere slowly, carefully, as if expecting something to jump out at them. But nothing did. The first team entered the main city. The streets were quiet. Vehicles were stopped in place. Doors were open. Food was still on tables. It looked like everyone had simply disappeared. One soldier spoke in a low voice. "This is wrong." Another nodded. "Very wrong." They moved deeper into the city, scanning, searching. Nothing. No bodies. No damage. Not even a sign of struggle. Then one of the scanners gave a strange reading. "Commander, I am picking up energy traces." "From where?" the commander asked. The soldier pointed up. "Above us." All eyes turned to the sky. At first, they saw nothing, just clouds. Then the clouds moved, not naturally, slowly, unnaturally. Something massive shifted behind them, a shape, dark, so large it blocked the light. The commander's voice became sharp. "All units, return to ships. Now." But it was too late. The sky changed, not exploded, not burned, changed, like reality itself was bending. The dark shape above them seemed to open, not like a mouth, not like a machine. Something else, something that could not be understood. The soldiers froze. Their systems began to fail. Signals broke. Voices turned into static. From orbit, the fleet watched in horror. "What is happening down there?" one officer shouted. The screens flickered. Data became unstable. Then the planet itself began to change. Not physically, but in readings. Mass levels dropped. Energy vanished. Everything was being taken. "Pull back," the fleet commander ordered. "All ships move away from the planet." Engines roared. Ships turned and pushed away at full speed. Behind them, Aster 9 grew dim. Not destroyed. Not broken. Just empty. Within minutes, the entire planet lost all detectable energy. No heat. No signals. No life. And then, even its presence began to fade. The fleet reached a safe distance and turned back. What they saw froze them in place. Aster 9 was still there, but it looked wrong. Dark, cold, like a shell, and above it, that shape remained. Huge, silent, watching. "Fire weapons," the commander ordered. Energy beams shot toward the object, bright, powerful, enough to destroy entire fleets. They passed through it, like it was not even there. "Again!" the commander shouted. More weapons fired. Missiles, plasma, energy bursts. Nothing worked. The shape did not react, did not defend, did not attack. It simply continued. And then, slowly, it moved. Not fast, not aggressive, just forward. The fleet felt it, not through sensors, but inside, a pressure, a presence. "Fall back," the commander ordered again. "This is not a fight we can win." The fleet retreated, fast. No one argued. Back in the Alliance Command Center, the full report was received. No one spoke during the playback. They watched everything. The empty world, the dark shape, the failed attacks. When it ended, the room was silent. "This is it," the Silver leader said quietly. "This is what humanity was preparing for." Another leader stepped forward. "Where are the humans now?" they demanded. "Why are they not here?" As if answering the question, a new signal appeared. This one was strong, clear, human. The message opened across every screen. A human commander appeared, older, tired, but focused. "You have encountered it," he said. The room stayed silent. "We tried to warn you," he continued, "but there was no time." "Tell us what that thing is," the Silver leader demanded. The human paused, then gave an answer no one expected. "We do not know what it is," he said. Shock spread again. "But we know one thing," he added. The room waited. The human looked directly into the camera. "It cannot be stopped, only delayed." The message ended, and in that moment, the galaxy understood the truth. This was not a war. This was survival, and they were already losing. Fear had taken hold of the galaxy. After Aster 9, no world felt safe. Colonies near the outer edge were abandoned. Trade routes were empty. Even the strongest fleets stayed close to their home systems. No one wanted to be next. The dark shapes kept moving, slow, silent, endless. More systems went quiet. Not destroyed, just emptied. Each loss made the panic worse. Inside the Alliance Command Center, leaders argued again. "We cannot fight this," one said. "We cannot run either," another replied. "Then what do we do?" someone asked. No one had an answer. Then, without warning, new signals appeared across the galaxy. At first, the systems flagged them as unknown, too strong, too advanced, too different. Then someone noticed something. These signals, they are human. All screens shifted at once. Long-range sensors began to show new objects entering Alliance space. Ships, thousands of them. But these were not the same human ships from before. These were bigger, heavier, stronger. Their designs were different. Dark metal surfaces covered in strange patterns. Energy signatures unlike anything seen before. Weapons that did not match known technology. The fleets moved in perfect formation. Calm, controlled, focused. "They came back," someone whispered. The silver leader stepped forward. Open communication. They ordered. A signal was sent. This time, it was answered. The same human commander appeared again. But now, behind him, the view was different. Massive warships filled the background, moving together like a wall. "You should not be here," the silver leader said. "This is no longer your fight." The human shook his head. "It was always our fight." The room fell silent. "You left us," another leader said, anger in their voice. "You knew this was coming." The human did not deny it. "Yes," he said. "Then why?" the leader demanded. For a moment, the human said nothing. Then he spoke. "Because if we stayed, it would have found all of you faster." The words hit hard. "We needed time," he continued. "Time to prepare. Time to build. Time to understand." "And now?" the silver leader asked. The human looked tired, but his voice stayed steady. "Now we fight." At that exact moment, alarms sounded across the command center. New contact detected. Multiple objects approaching. The dark shapes had arrived again. Closer this time. Larger. Without waiting, the human fleets moved. "Watch carefully," the commander said. "You are about to see something new." The first human ships opened fire. But this was not normal weapon fire. No bright beams. No explosions. Instead, space itself seemed to shift. Strange pulses moved outward. Invisible waves that bent light when they touched the dark shapes. For the first time, something happened. The shapes slowed. Gasps filled the Alliance command room. "It worked," someone whispered. But the moment did not last. The shapes did not stop. They only slowed. "Again!" the human commander ordered. More pulses fired. More waves of strange energy. The shapes struggled against it, but they kept moving. "They are adapting," one Alliance officer said. "Yes," the human replied calmly. "They always do." The battle continued. Human ships held their position, holding the line. But it was clear they were not winning. Losses began to appear. Human ships vanished, not destroyed, just gone. Still, they did not retreat. "Why are they staying?" someone asked. "They cannot win this." The silver leader watched carefully, then spoke softly. "They are not trying to win." The room turned to them. "They are buying time." Hours passed, then days. The human fleets kept fighting, system after system, always slowing the enemy, never stopping it. Then a final message was sent from human command. "All Alliance forces," the commander said, "fall back to inner systems." "What?" one leader said. "You're asking us to run?" "Yes," the human replied. Anger rose again. "You expect us to hide while you fight alone?" another shouted. The human's expression did not change. "No," he said. "I expect you to survive." Silence. "We cannot stop this," he continued, "but we can delay it long enough to try something else." "What's something?" the silver leader asked. The human paused, then gave a simple answer. A final solution. The word sent a chill through the room. "What does that mean?" someone asked. The human did not explain. "You will know when the time comes," he said. The signal ended. Across the galaxy, human fleets continued their slow retreat, always fighting, always holding. And for the first time since this began, The Alliance understood something clearly. Humanity had not returned to save them. They had returned to stand between the galaxy and something that could erase it. And even now, they were preparing for something bigger, something final, something that might cost them everything. The galaxy was running out of time. Every report that reached the Alliance carried the same message. More systems lost. More worlds gone silent. The dark shapes were no longer at the edge. They were moving toward the center, toward the most populated regions, toward everything that remained. Human fleets continued to fight. But now, even they were falling back faster. Their lines were thinning. Their ships were disappearing. Still, they did not stop. Inside the Alliance Command Center, the mood had changed. There was no more argument, no more denial. Only one question remained. How long do we have? The answer came sooner than expected. A priority signal from human command appeared, stronger than before, clearer, final. The same human commander stood on screen, but now he looked older, more tired, as if the weight of everything had finally reached him. "It is time," he said. The room stayed silent. No one interrupted. "The enemy has entered the intersectors," he continued. "We cannot delay them any longer." The silver leader stepped forward. "What is your plan?" The human took a slow breath, then answered, "We built something." A large display activated behind him. For the first time, the Alliance saw it. A structure, massive, larger than any station ever created, floating at the far edge of human space. It did not look like a weapon. It looked simple. A ring, a perfect, enormous ring. "What is that?" someone asked. The human looked at it for a moment, then said, "A barrier." Confusion spread across the room. "A barrier against what?" the silver leader asked. The human turned back. "Against them." Silence. "We could not destroy them," he continued. "We tried, many times." His voice lowered slightly. "We failed." No one spoke. "So we changed our goal," he said. "What goal?" another leader asked. The human's answer was calm. "To push them out." The room froze. "That is impossible," someone said. "Yes," the human replied. "It should be." He paused. "But it is the only chance left." The plan was simple and terrifying. The massive ring would activate. It would create a wave, a force strong enough to push the dark shapes away from the galaxy, back into deep space. But there was a cost. "A cost?" the silver leader asked quietly. The human nodded. "The energy required is beyond anything we have ever used." He looked directly at them. "It will consume everything in its range." A cold silence filled the room. "What is in its range?" someone whispered. The human did not look away. "Human space." Shock spread across every face. "You mean," the silver leader began. "Yes," the human said. He did not hesitate. "We will lose everything." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then a voice broke the silence. "Why would you do that?" one leader asked. It was not anger. It was disbelief. The human thought for a moment, then gave a simple answer. "Because someone has to stand." Outside, the final battle had already begun. Human fleets gathered near the massive ring, ships from every direction, damaged, worn, but still ready. Behind them, the Alliance fleets arrived. "You told us to fall back," the silver leader said through the calm. The human commander looked at the incoming ships. "Yes," he said. "Then why are we here?" the leader asked. The human watched them for a moment. Then, for the first time, a small smile appeared. "Because you chose not to run." The dark shapes approached, closer than ever before, larger than before, more of them. Space itself seemed to bend around their presence. "All units, prepare," the human commander ordered. The fleets moved into position. "Barrier system charging," an officer reported. Energy began to build around the massive ring. Light spread across its surface. The dark shapes continued forward. Unafraid, unstoppable. "Hold the line," the commander said. Human ships fired everything they had. Strange pulses, energy waves, everything. The Alliance joined in. For the first time, the galaxy fought together. Ships fell, lines broke, but they held. Charge at 60%. An officer said. Hold, the commander replied. The enemy moved closer. Closer, 80%. More ships vanished. Hold, he repeated. Barrier ready, the officer finally said. The commander closed his eyes for a brief moment, then gave the final order. Activate. Light, not like a weapon, not like an explosion. A wave, pure energy spreading outward. It moved across space, silent, endless, when it touched the dark shapes. For the first time, they reacted. They stopped. Then slowly, they were pushed back. The wave continued. Stronger, brighter. The shapes resisted, but they could not hold. One by one, they were forced away, back into the dark, back into the space between galaxies. And then, they were gone. Silence returned. The battle was over. The galaxy was safe. But as the light faded, something else became clear. Human space was gone. Where once there were stars, worlds, cities, now there was only emptiness. The silver leader stood in silence, looking at the space where humanity once lived. They knew, they whispered. They always knew. Days later, a final message was found, a recorded transmission, left behind by the human commander. It played across the Alliance. We were never running, he said. We were preparing. A pause. If you are hearing this, then it worked. Another pause. Live well. The message ended, and across the galaxy, one truth remained. Humanity walked away, not to escape, but to stand alone. So no one else had to.